Where do most sales plans really fail? You spend November writing them, December getting that budget sign-off, and then January presenting this, inspiring vision.
Right, the big kickoff.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But according to the latest source material we've unpacked from the sales experts, the failure point isn't late in the year. It happens in the first 8 weeks.
The first 8 weeks of Q1. That's when all those carefully crafted assumptions about volume, velocity, and people, they just collide with the cold, hard reality of the market.
And that's the core message we're really drilling down on today.
It is. For you, the sales leader, the executive, the person who is ultimately on the hook for hitting that 2026 number, this is not academic theory.
Not at all.
This deep dive is an immediate risk assessment. We're unpacking the analysis from the sales experts' critical report. Your 2026 sales plan is at risk. Fix it before Q2, and we're doing it to give you actionable steps you can implement this week.
The mission is pretty clear then. Prevent Q2 revenue from suffering because you waited too long to correct things in Q1.
Precisely. All your targets, all your projections, they basically rest on 3 variables, 3 gears that run the whole machine.
Okay, let's unpack those.
It's how many deals you can close, how big those deals are, and crucially, how quickly they move through your funnel.
And if one of those slips, the whole plan can just fall apart, right?
Absolutely. If you assume a 90-day sales cycle and it slips to 120, your entire quarter is instantly vaporized. If you assume an average deal size of $100K and it contracts to 75,
your reps have to do 30% more work just to stand still.
Exactly. So we need to focus on locking down the variables that are most prone to slippage in these first 60 days.
So let's jump right in. The first critical fix, getting ruthless about the pipeline and qualification rigor. This is really about rechecking the numbers you're betting the year on.
Yeah, you have to look at your pipeline today and ask how much of this is real and how much is just, wishful thinking that makes the chart look comfortable.
Wishful thinking is a resource drain.
It's a huge one. The experts make it very clear. Studies show that average sales reps spend up to 40% of their time chasing deals that were destined to fail from the very start.
40%, that's 2 days a week.
Wasted. So qualification has to be absolutely ruthless. The source material highlights 2 non-negotiable requirements for any deal to even stay in the forecast.
Okay, what are they?
1, it must have a clear, defined next mutual action step agreed upon by both parties. This just eliminates all those stalled deals where the ball is perpetually in the buyer's court.
Right, the we'll get back to you deals.
Those are the ones. And 2, the contact has to be a verified decision maker, or at least part of a defined decision-making unit with actual budget authority.
So no more champions who can't sign a check.
None. If a deal lacks either of those elements, it's just noise. You are wasting capacity on it, and you need to cut it loose now, even if it feels painful to see that pipeline number shrink a bit.
That feels like the right rigor, but how do we manage the political friction? A VP sees a shrinking funnel and panics.
You sell it with capacity planning. You explain that every hour a senior rep spends qualifying a noise deal is an hour they didn't spend on a legitimate one that actually moves the needle.
So that connects qualification rigor directly to strategic focus.
It does, and that brings us to tightening your ideal customer profile, or ICP. The source stresses this point. If you are currently chasing everyone, you're effectively chasing no one.
I think a lot of teams are guilty of that, being spread too thin.
Dangerously thin. It dilutes your marketing, your sales engineering time, your reps' energy, everything. You have to lock your ICT down tighter than ever before, define exactly who you want to win, and ignore the rest, at least for Q1.
And what does that look like in, actionable terms for a leader listening right now?
The experts point to 3 things you have to define and enforce immediately. First, your top 3 industries that yield the fastest close times and highest profitability, not just volume, speed, and profit. Second, the specific deal sizes that have your highest historical win rate. Stop chasing that vanity mega deal that closes 2% of the time but takes 50% of your resources.
Focus on the sweet spot.
Focus on the sweet spot.
And third, and this is crucial, clarify the specific painful problems you solve that your competitors absolutely cannot touch. If you can't answer that third question, you're selling a commodity.
Okay, so that focus drives efficiency. But efficiency doesn't mean much if the process itself is slow. This brings up the second fix, shifting from a monthly to a weekly review.
Monthly forecasts are just. They're relics of a slower era. A deal can show slippage in week 2, and if you don't review it until the end of the month, that deal is already in critical condition by week 6.
You've lost all momentum.
All of it. And you can't get that time back. Your plan is already suffering.
So a weekly snapshot is about micro-course correction, not just accountability. What should leaders be demanding to see weekly? Leading indicators, not just lagging ones. Monthly reports are for outcomes. Weekly reviews are for activity and commitment. You should be tracking stalled opportunities, missing activities, did that call actually happen, and critically, deal strategy correction.
So if a deal stalls, you fix it that week.
You fix it right then and there. The manager and the rep collaborate to correct the strategy immediately, not wait for some monthly ritual. It keeps the whole machine honest and moving with velocity.
That makes perfect sense. So we fixed the numbers, we fixed the cadence. But if the people running the process aren't up to the task, the plan still collapses.
It does. And that brings us to the second major risk area, the talent crisis clock.
A people problem masquerading as a pipeline problem.
Exactly. Executives need to do an immediate talent inventory. Look at your team, who consistently hit their target last year, who missed by a wide margin, even with coaching, and who is on the edge but has that coachability, that right attitude.
And the source talks about the mix too, right? The balance of hunters, farmers, and closers.
Yes, and that's often so poorly defined. You need that balance. Too many hunters burning leads without closing, or too many farmers with no new logos to fuel growth. You have to map your people to what your plan actually requires.
There's also a pretty harsh reality check in here about underperformance.
There is. If someone is consistently draining your time and resources, you probably already know the answer about their long-term fit. That's the definition of opportunity cost in sales. But the deeper crisis is when you realize you're missing a key player entirely.
And waiting until Q2 to fix that is a guaranteed miss.
Guaranteed. Which brings us to this terrifying calculation of the sales hiring clock. This is Insight 2, and it really proves how far behind you might be already.
Let's walk through it.
Okay, so this is critical arithmetic for any executive listening. Minimum timeline. It takes 30 to 60 days just to run a quality search and get a verbal acceptance for a senior hire.
This sounds about right.
Then you have their 30-day notice period. They finally start, but now you need another 60 to 120 days. That's 2 to 4 months for them to fully ramp up, to learn the product, the process.
And become productive. So, best case scenario, 30 days to recruit, 30 for notice, 60 to ramp. That's 120 days.
4 months.
Which means a hire you start searching for today, early February, won't deliver consistent revenue until early June, at best.
Which is Q3 output, not Q2. The strategic implication is severe. Any critical hire you haven't started searching for in Q1 won't really impact your plan until late Q3, maybe even Q4.
So if your plan depended on that person closing deals in July, you've already missed the window.
You have. The companies that are growing exponentially treat Q1 as the absolute drop-dead date for talent acquisition.
Okay, so we have to start now. But the best people aren't looking, are they? They're employed, and they're hitting their numbers somewhere else.
That's why you can't be reactive. The sales expert's advice focuses on a continuous, proactive strategy. You reach top performers through active headhunting, consistent outreach, even when you don't have an open role, and having a compelling offer ready to go.
It's about building a system, not just filling a seat.
Precisely. You need a continuous pool of potential hires, a clear hiring scorecard, and really well-designed interview questions that test capability and attitude, not just their resume. That way, when you need someone, you are not starting from zero.
Okay, so we've covered the people in the pipeline. Let's move to the final major fix, eliminating friction. Because even with the best talent and the cleanest pipeline, internal bottlenecks can just choke your sales velocity.
This is all about efficiency of motion. If your average sales cycle is 90 days, you have to find a way to tighten it now. If it slips to 100 days, your Q2 output is already suffering.
So how do you attack that cycle time? The source gives a couple of clear directives.
The first one is basic, but so often ignored. Involve the real economic decision makers earlier. Stop having discovery calls with people who can't sign the check. Get the key buyer in the room by the second meeting.
And the second directive.
It's broader. You win more when you simplify. Complexity is the enemy of velocity. In your pricing, your legal terms, your product options, simplify it.
And that leads to the final actionable insight, which I love because it forces executive focus. Eliminate one major friction point.
This is such a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of just shouting at your team to make more calls, you look inward and ask, what internal obstacle is slowing them down the most?
Every organization have one.
Or
more than one.
At least one major one. The source lists the usual suspects. Agonizingly slow pricing approvals, poor handovers between sales and engineering, chaotic marketing support.
Or the big one, legal review bottlenecks.
That can add a week to every single deal at the final stage. The executive's job in Q1 isn't to create motivation, it's to remove the impediment. Pick the biggest blocker and dedicate Q1 resources to fixing it.
It seems like teams grow faster when you remove that friction, instead of just demanding more activity.
It's the fastest, most predictable way to accelerate velocity this quarter.
So this whole deep dive has been focused on converting that risk in your new sales plan into actual sales success by acting right now in these critical first 60 days.
We've covered pipeline rigor, talent urgency, and eliminating process friction.
And that strategic urgency really is the whole point.
It is. Inertia is the silent killer of sales plans. So before you leave this deep dive, we want you to ask yourself the final provocative question posed by the sales experts. Look at your sales plan today. What is the single weakest link? Your people, your pipeline, or your process?
That moment of honest self-reflection is the difference between a hopeful plan and an achievable one. If you're an executive or a sales leader and you want to dive deeper into these strategies for de-risking your 2026 revenue,
We encourage you to visit thesalesexperts.com. They have a ton of insights on recruitment scorecards, process optimization, and immediate strategy implementation.
Fixing that weakest link right now makes 2026 revenue achievable, not just hopeful. Thank you for joining the deep dive.